so comfortable with you. I feel like I'll always love you. I'll always love you. Always. I feel so comfortable with you. I feel like I'll always love you. I'll always love you. Always.
Okay, there we are.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, hello everyone. Nice to be here with you.
Yes, nice to meet you, Simon. And have you two met before? We've got Simon, Apex.
I don't think we've ever shared a spaces before. I think we've interacted on X, as the kids are calling it now, but I think we've never
Yeah.
actually had a chat.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. We've been
Very-
following each other for probably over 2 years now or something.
Ah. Mutuals. Finally in the same room. Very cute. And we have Gabon here, one of the co-founders of Focus Tree and the product wizard. And I'm the head of community at Focus Tree. And I was thinking that maybe to start off with, we could do just, you guys could each, maybe starting with Apex, give a little description of kind of what you do in the space. I mean, if people are here from Twitter, then they probably know, but just a little brief description of what you do and yeah, what your specialty is in Web3 gaming.
Yeah, sure. I'm a content creator technically, so I write about games, basically about crypto games, with a focus on fully on-chain gaming, and so on. And yes, my only platform is Twitter. It's like not the usual content you would expect from like a gaming creator. Like it's not necessarily video or streams, but yeah, just educational content about gaming, covering the latest development, sharing thoughts, breaking down projects, things like that. Trying to share opportunities early. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a Substack as well, right?
Yeah, right. I have a Substack which is dedicated to fully on-chain gaming, and yeah, news about that, and then also occasionally some other posts. For example, 2 weeks ago I was on an event in Lisbon, which was about like autonomous worlds and on-chain gaming. So wrote a small recap of that, for example.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. And Simon, would you mind giving just a brief kind of description of what you do? And I'm happy to have you guys both in the same room. I think it's kind of like the user and then the creator type of thing. But yeah, I would love if you could give us a quick little description of what you do, Simon.
Oh. we might have lost him.
Simon! Simon says, okay, I'll just give him a brief description if he comes back. Simon is, he's gone. Okay, well, he's the CEO at Mighty Bear Games, so we'll see if he can rejoin the stream. I know he was having some technical issues, but I guess before we jump into that, maybe, honestly, it would be interesting to hear how you got like your first exposure to Web3 gaming Apex. Like, did it happen through interacting in the crypto space, or was it because oh, there he is. Yay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. My computer crashed itself. So yeah, I'm Simon. I'm CEO and co-founder of Mighty Bear Games. Been making games now since 2004, so it's my 20th year. Real job I had before starting a company was working for King. King is in Candy Crush.
Oh, what?
Yes, it's been a long journey. And yeah, so Mighty Bears, I think, shipped 6 games in the last 7 years. We also have a UEFN team that shipped, I think, 22 maps. And then in 2021, we decided to go all in on Web3. And so we have Mighty Action Heroes live now, which is a Web3 battle royale. And what we've realized the last few years, and this is actually quite pressing the topic of this discussion, is that, Web3 players are, financially motivated. I think that's a great secret. And so we've landed on essentially creating games for financially motivated players. And so we have a big announcement actually in a couple of weeks around that and how we're going to tie a bunch of different games together around that theme. So yeah, very excited to discuss this with you guys.
Cool.
Very cool. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. Wait. To Candy Crush, I just need to ask. So wait, were you developing Candy Crush? Please.
No, I was part of King. King is a big company, like everyone contributed in their own way, but I was a product leader at different part of the company. I was focused more on like games that more traditional gamers. Yeah, but that was my last real job before doing a independent game studio.
Okay, wow, that's pretty sick. Okay. Straight into the big leagues. Okay. I like that energy.
I might have a question for you, Simon. Since when did you start building Web3 games specifically? Because I believe it's a Web2 game studio initially, right?
Yeah, it's 2021. So, I mean, I can give you like a very honest answer, which is that we had a puzzle game, which is a very cute game where you had to run a cafe with friends. And it was doing really well. The metrics were incredible. But I don't know if you're aware that Apple made some changes to device tracking, IDFA. And basically, we saw our cost per install go up like 700%. Towards the end of 2021, at the same time, I was seeing Axie taking off. And I've been in crypto since 2015. So it wasn't just like a tourist. I've been in and around the space. And, I'd been initially quite, I suppose, bearish on blockchain. But actually, Gabby Dizon from YGG is someone I've known for many, many years, actually an old friend of mine. We know each other from Web2 days. And so I could see what he was doing. I could see what was happening with Axie. I'm based in Southeast Asia. And I realized that the traditional business model for mobile free-to-play was broken. And now you've seen in like 2022 and 2023, a bunch of studios closed. But we saw the warning lights like very early with that one game. And we decided we'd go all in on Web3 because it was a space where we could create a best-in-class studio. And maybe those days have passed for mobile free-to-play, at least for like a team of, 40, 50 people without, tens of millions of dollars worth of advertising budgets. But yeah, that's why. So it's been 3 years now, Web3.
Would you define your studio as a hyper casual mobile game studio, or do you do other type of games?
No, we do loads of stuff. So we made a game with Disney. It was a MOBA. It was called Disney Melee Mania. It's currently still on the App Store, and it's like a big kind of MOBA type experience. We made a food-based battle royale game called Butter Royale, where you hit people with baguettes, and there's a tsunami of butter coming. It's very cute. We made first game we made was an MMORPG with 9 people, and I had hair when we made that game, and I was about 20 kilos lighter. So, do not recommend building an MMO with 9 people. Yeah, we do kind of everything, to be honest. We're pretty versatile.
Got it.
Okay, I would love to hear, Apex, what was the first Web3 game that you ever tried or that you really fell in love with? Because I'm curious as a user, like what brought you into Web3 gaming specifically? Yeah, what motivated you to come into that?
It's actually a really good question. I think so. Generally, how I got into crypto gaming like deeply was through content, because I got into like NFTs and crypto kind of randomly, and I didn't know anybody in the space. So eventually, I told myself, okay, let's start writing on Twitter, get some followers, to meet some people, basically. And since I've been playing video games basically my whole life, I eventually thought like, okay, it's probably a good idea to focus on one niche in crypto, and like crypto gaming. I've playing games all the time anyways, and I'm coming from Counter-Strike, so in Counter-Strike you have like the skins and the trading, so that's kind of, there are some similarities to a lot of crypto games. So there was already this past experience, so I just focused like my content on crypto gaming and took a deep dive that way. Probably one of the first games I fell in love with was Beacon from Treasure. This is like this roguelike. I never can tell. This, it's like a cute pixelated game. I think you can play it again right now. And Treasure was pretty big back then, and they still have a really active community. So they like launched their early access, and you could like do a dungeon daily, and when you complete it, you can open chests and you would get some cosmetics, which you then could trade if you minted one of their characters. It was pretty cool. It was really fun. It was like this easy casual experience. You would play the dungeon daily. It maybe takes you 10, 20, 30 minutes. You would get a loot box. You would trade these cosmetics. I mean, it's really basic. You could also decorate like your own little house. So yeah, that's probably kind of the first game I've played a lot and I really enjoyed playing. It was like 1.5 years ago, I think.
So if I want to recap that, I think this is really interesting for game makers to hear. So you were kind of saying like it was the social aspect primarily that brought you to Web3 gaming. Like it was kind of this need to connect type of thing. And then you found a game where you enjoyed it. It wasn't too time consuming, if I'm hearing correctly, because you also were in school, things like that. So maybe it was the right fit for you at the time.
Yeah, you could say that. But I think I always had like small connections to crypto gaming, but in 2022 there wasn't that much around. Like I didn't experience Axie really, so there were a lot of teams like slowly starting to build. So they were like the first proper games just releasing, and it was also kind of the time where I started taking a closer look to it.
Okay, very cool. I think on the social aspect of Web3 gaming, like, how do you think, between all of you guys, how do you think that, like over the past year or two, like, have you seen the space really transform? Are there any trends you've really seen happening in Web3 gaming as a whole that it kind of excite you, or any big changes have you guys noticed in the past like year or so to Web3 gaming?
And I can shoot first. I think on the social side, I'm going to say something very spicy, but actually most Web3 games are pretty terrible. So if you look at like traditional mobile gaming and how they do social and how they have deep social systems like guilds and friend referrals and kind of rewarding you for playing with friends, like most Web3 teams don't have that yet. And that's mean, very simply put, it's because their focus is more on the financial side and on the blockchain side. And the social stuff is hard to build. Like Web2 developers struggle with it too. And so it's going to take time. But I think one positive development is like that people are shipping games in the last year. And for the longest time, we had like big promises and people sharing trailers for games that were still 3-4 years out. And some of those are still 3-4 years out, but people are actually shipping some real games now. We're starting to see like the seeds of something real. And you know, I think it's really important because there's only so long that you can raise money based off promises. So as long as the space starts delivering, then it'll be good for everyone, and especially for gamers, obviously, because they actually have games to play, not to just dream about. But yeah,
True.
Yeah, maybe I can talk about Starknet because I don't know much about the other ecosystem, but I would say on Starknet we're very focused on fully on-chain games. So trying to leverage the fact that computation is cheaper and putting all the state on chain. So I can talk about maybe Influence, if you know about it, Simon and Apex. It's like it's a game like EVE Online, but fully on chain.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is right now, the nice thing is it's completely permissionless and also interoperable. So we can imagine people starting to create other smart contracts, other meta games around it. So right now it's not proven, but at least we can experiment with that, and it's kind of unique and playable, very high quality. Another thing that I like a lot on Starknet is the Dojo. Dojo is a framework to basically ship games faster, fully on chain, and you have Paved, for example, which is a Carcassonne-like. Carcassonne is a board game, but it's Carcassonne on-chain. And again, it makes sense because you don't have a lot of actions. It's like turn by turn, so it makes sense on-chain. And the last trend I can see is like running the game off-chain, and then you're gonna prove it with the ZK proof that you've actually did those actions. And then you don't have to store anything on chain, but you still benefit from decentralization and interoperability of the assets. So I would say that those are the three types of games we have on Starknet, and the last ones are more like Web 2.5, like Focus Tree. It's like trying to not see any difference between Web 2 and Web 3, trying to be really mainstream. And yeah, but I would say that's not very specific to Starknet.
Yeah, how about you, Apex? Have you noticed any major trends in the past year as you've been playing games, I guess? And you test out so many games. Like whenever I see your account, you're like, oh, I tested out 10 games. I tested out 6 games. Like I feel like you would be really familiar with trends that are passing through or things that are popular, maybe things that are working or not working. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think one interesting trend which I saw is like a year ago, I was always of the opinion that there are not really that many gamers in Web3. Like the overall, like the overall audience is not really big enough for a game to just go after like people into crypto and like get a actually solid and really, really big player base, because also most people are kind of extractive, trying to value extract in crypto. But I think now if you look at games like Pixels, for example, or maybe also Baby Card, they have actually really good player numbers, and they are able to attract a lot of users. And they are, primarily in crypto. So that's definitely a shift that like the crowd of people interested in crypto gaming grew without too many efforts of games going after like normal audiences. And I think that's coming now, that for example a lot of mobile games are getting close to releasing, which are trying to attack like that Monopoly Go kind of audience, which is more this hyper casual gamer, which wouldn't be into crypto. But I think these games, they can introduce interesting dynamics using crypto. So that I think that's another shift which we're going to see in like the coming months.
So you're thinking like more mobile games specifically? type of thing, or mobile games being the transition to more adoption of these games, possibly?
Yeah, I think just in mobile games we're going to see interesting innovations because they can actually they can use crypto in a meaningful way. Like I'm not necessarily bullish on the hundreds crypto shooter which tries to raise a lot of money, but then it looks like every other shooter, and like nobody's ever going to prefer it over like an Overwatch or Valorant or Counter-Strike. So I think these mobile games, they have a higher ceiling, they have more opportunity to actually use crypto in a meaningful way and actually get users.
Okay, very cool. Thank
Just
you.
a couple of things I want to add on to that, because I
Mhm.
think you've really touched on something very important here. I think the first piece is that, as Zephyx mentioned, like mobile is the opportunity, but also I don't think a lot of people in Web3 really appreciate just how much bigger mobile is than PC and console in terms of like market cap. It's 3-4 times bigger in terms of revenue, and all the users that are in Web3, well, no, but the vast majority are based in Southeast Asia and the developing world, and those are all mobile first. These are not people that own consoles or PCs. So you have, if you're not on mobile, you're basically not, you're really like kneecapping your chances of success in the space. I think the other thing, which he also touched on, which I think is interesting, is that I don't, like, people say things like, oh, you just need a good game and the Web2 players will come in. Like the Web2 players will probably not come in, but that's fine. Because when mobile gaming started taking off, it wasn't the Web2 players that took that, right? It was people like my mother, who's been playing 2-3 hours a day of Candy Crush now for what, 10 plus years. So she's spent thousands of hours in Candy Crush. Like there's clearly someone who is a gamer. And so I think there's a whole new audience of gamers out there that may be attracted by financial incentives or by other things that can come into this space, and it can become a huge industry into itself.
And I have a question for both Apex and Simon. Do you think that we'll see like a flagship game is gonna be like something for like crypto native, but that go viral even in Web2, a bit like Steppen, at the time, or Frentech, or this kind of stuff? Or do you think it's gonna be a AAA game that incorporates some Web3 that unlocks a new use case, but it's gonna be like something very like AAA, very like Web 2.5, I would say?
I'll let Apex go first. Yeah, go on, man.
I don't think it's going to be like a AAA game because there are probably less than 5 games in crypto which actually raised enough money to compete with like true AAA games from like these huge publishers. And like the games from the huge publishers, they're probably not going to start integrating crypto out of nowhere. And even if they start, it's probably like, you have 1 million users and 10 of them use the crypto integration. So definitely more something like crypto native. I mean, Pixels is probably not too far away from it. Like if you see events in like Southeast Asia of like YGG, of Ronin, there are like hundreds and thousands of people coming there and just playing Pixels on their mobile, or who used to be playing Axie on their phones and so on. So that's probably where you see a lot of the adoption and like the breakthrough titles.
Yeah, I mean, I concur. I don't see any chance of it coming from AAA. I disagree slightly. I actually don't think anyone in the space has raised enough to compete with AAA. I worked at AAA studios, and these games have budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars, and the marketing budget is just as big as the development budget.
Wow.
Like Skull and Bones that came out of Ubisoft Singapore, which is just down the street from me, was in development for 12 years with literally thousands of people on it for 12 years. So like, I don't see people in the space being able to compete at that scale. But in addition to that, there's like zero chance that the big publishers would really test this, because it's basically destructive to their business model. Like they rely on value capture and people not being able to extract any sort of value or even seed any sort of control of their in-game economies. So it would never be AAA. I think it has to be a use case from Web3 that Web2 people find interesting. honestly, and this is probably not the most popular take, but I would say it's probably something along the lines of gambling or wagering, or where people go head to head and there's a financial payoff, because that is a sustainable model, right? It's not, you're not giving out free money, you're not giving out tokens, people actually putting some money in, but that financial incentive, the chance to win a prize, is probably what's going to be what tips people over. So that's what I think is probably going to, something along those lines, probably going to cause the crossover. Yeah, it's just personal take.
What I'm curious about is like when I think of games that I don't consider myself like a gamer, but then there were certain games that I've been totally addicted to. Like during the pandemic, I was totally addicted to Stardew Valley, and it was just so addictive. Or growing up, me and my sister would play like these kind of mystery-based games like Nancy Drew games, and they're so addictive. It's like a storyline game, and you buy them outright. And that was at the time it was desktop, like we were like really young. But I would be like, when I was talking to some girls who are like in my age group and they're not like gaming on PC or something, they're just on their phone or their iPad, they're talking about like a Hello Kitty game that's like super relaxing. And it's kind of just like this, you turn your brain off and it's kind of addictive. And I'm curious to see if that type of game, I guess that's sort of similar to what Pixels is doing, but I think there's this desktop only. But I'm curious to see like a game where it just, like it's just addicting. Like it just the psychology of the game is like you want to keep doing it. You want to, like, it's not even financial. Like, do you guys think that that could be sustainable based off of how like a Web3 game has to work financially? Like, do you think that a game that people maybe paid once for, do you think that that would be sustainable in the space?
I think it probably goes back to like what Simon just said to some extent, that we are like kind of gambling but not gambling. I mean, even if you play a lot of these like hyper casual mobile games, there's going to be some packs or some stuff you can open, right? You always get rewarded with something. And that's kind of similar what Web3 games are also doing. And for example, I tried a game which is called City Wars Tycoon, which is kind of like Monopoly Go with like crypto, and you can own like the buildings Monopoly basically.
Oh, I love those games.
And I'm not a big mobile player. I probably wouldn't play it too much myself, but like I've played it with my girlfriend, and now whenever we're together, she always wants to play it. And it's just basically all you do is you just roll some dice, you get different actions. You can steal some money from properties. You can visit it, you lose money, you get money. It's not that there's actually no crypto integration yet, but once there is, it's kind of like, yeah, suddenly you have something at stake, and maybe you get rewards with like $1, or maybe you lose a little bit of money, and that's what's going to make it so addicting, like the economic game loop basically.
I mean, I love the suggestion from Emily. I think it's really cool, and I'd love to see more cozy games in Web3. But I think, like was just said, if any project that's coming out, the first questions are like, when token, what are the tokenomics? How can I earn from this? Like that's the audience in the space, at least today. And so I think if you were to position a game which you just pay once and has no like in-game kind of value generation of some sort, or extraction, or some kind of economy where people could earn, then I don't see it really working in Web3. I could be wrong though, but I think it's very difficult unless there's some sort of economic incentive people in the space. Else, why just not go play Stardew Valley instead?
Yeah. It's sorry, were you gonna say something, Gabon?
No, I wanted to launch another topic, you can wrap up this one, Emily, if you want.
No, yeah, it's just basically, yeah, it's interesting because as like just my user profile, if I was going to profile myself, it's like I am not financially incentivized to play. Like I will get bored. Like it's almost like I think it can be addicting, but I think what's more addicting for my style of player is something where it's just the actual game mechanics are addicting, where it's like you get a dopamine rush from like like the idea of all these games, like you like you grow something, you build something, you make something cute, you like solve a mystery, you solve it like this, like you get to move forward in the story. Like the addicting part is that. So it is interesting because, like you said, though, it's like, how do you bring those players into the game? Like maybe it has to be a really well-known, like if it was Hello Kitty, like maybe they have to have a game with that just in it, and so people just love it so much that they're gonna like use it regardless. Like, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, on another topic, I'm curious. Do you guys know the concept of hard currency, soft currency? You know, in games is pretty traditional, I would say.
Yeah.
What's a trend I've seen is Axie Infinity, and so the idea is you just take the same concept, like the game assets, the skins. You know, you make them NFTs. You take the coins, you make them ERC20, right? But what we've seen is it doesn't work because you come from like before there was like one seller and many buyers, right? Because it was not fungible, right? Not tradable, sorry. But now if you take like Axie Infinity, the currencies are now tradable, and then it has a lot of implications in terms of UX and gameplay. So my question is, do you think maybe at some point we'll realize there's not working economics? Like when you start to have tradable asset, maybe it ruins the complete business model, and maybe it's not working, and maybe it's not enjoyable. So that's my question. Maybe in the next years we'll see new games where assets can be like mintable but not transferable. So we keep the same, gameplay that the Web2 games. But it's just a consideration at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to see like hybrid approaches for sure. I wouldn't, draw too many conclusions from the first wave of Web3 games though, because we're just figuring stuff out. I think having, fairly open economies of tradable items are fine so long as the emissions of like, hard currency, for example, and on-chain currencies are like properly controlled. If players can basically farm currency endlessly, then yeah, it's not going to work. That's what we saw in the first wave. But I think to your point, no one has really figured out an economy that works well in this space. I have some theories as to what will work, but no one has actually demonstrated it at scale. And so, I am actually quite optimistic that with everything that's shipping from so many different studios, that someone is going to crack this and there's going to be an established playbook. And maybe it looks like what you just described.
True. Yeah, that's a good point, is that there's so much financial incentive that it's like you get the best of the best, that people are competing. It's like, I mean, capitalism in a nutshell, but I feel like there's so many people putting out games, and it's a good thing in a way, because it's like you're going to see what works quickly.
Yeah. I have a personal view, like maybe like you said, some currencies, in game, some currency is people always need to buy them. I think those currencies could be transferred as ERC20, mintable, but probably like the currency you earn, it's not gonna work. You need to keep it non-transferable, and but it still raises a question. For example, in most mobile game, you have those microtransactions. You have 6 coin packs, usually from $1 to $100, and those coin packs. In Web2, the price is determined by the game studio, right? But in Web3, the price is going to be determined by the market. It means that from $1, like one day you get 50 coins, and maybe the day after you get 100 coins because the price has moved. Mm-hmm. So my question is, we don't have, like, maybe it's going to be great for UX and make the game even more enjoyable, but maybe it's going to be a less fun game because you have this volatility in the prices.
That's definitely something to consider. One of the things we're looking at, actually, this is for the project we're announcing in 2 weeks, is that all of the in-game transactions are basically tagged to an off-chain currency. So you use tokens by the off-chain currency, and that way, day to day, you're not kind of worrying about the token price going up and down, or price of Ethereum or whatever. So I'm with you, actually, that like anything that has volatility, you probably don't want people using that day to day, because they're not going to. there's going to be reticence to do it, and people then will feel bad if it goes down. So I think there has to be ways to manage that, and maybe you have to take some of that off chain. But yeah, I'm with you on that.
Very interesting. I have a question kind of for Apex. Like, you've been gaming, Web3 gaming for the past year and a half, you were saying. And I'm curious, like, I know you mentioned the social element, obviously there's a financial element. Like, for you, for yourself, and maybe you know you have friends in the space too, clearly, but what do you feel like motivates you to keep coming back to these specific games versus like is it the financial incentive? Is it just you like the games themselves? Is it that you can create content around it? Like, what do you find? Because I think that that's what I'm like, someone who actually actively uses these games every single day. What really pulls you to these specific games?
So to be honest, I don't really get pulled to too many released games. Like the games I'm most excited about aren't released yet. So like I get pulled in by news and announcement and trying out like maybe an early build or something.
Yeah.
But like the most of the released crypto games, I would probably I don't play even for the financial aspect. Um, it doesn't have like the huge impact for me personally. Um, like I'm playing, for example, Oh Baby Card with a friend every now and then, but that's again for the social side. So that could be any game. If I enjoy it and my friends would enjoy it, we're going to play it. It doesn't necessarily need to be crypto or not. So it definitely is a lot of content and just waiting for the games I'm actually liking to actually release.
Right. It's like fun to be at the forefront and like you're getting to
Yeah.
test the games. It's like that is fun. Yeah. Can you like, are you allowed to ever talk about games that are not released yet? Like, can you tell us like one that you're really excited about, or is it kind of like top secret vibes?
No, most are public. They're just kind of yet to release. I think a really interesting game is Fableborn. It's like a mobile game. They're trying to combine like Diablo and Clash of Clans and a bunch of things. And it was also one of the first games I like posted about on Twitter. Was a while ago, and they had a lot of playtests already. And I think now they are trying to have like their soft launch sometime this year. Or like, okay, I'm not an expert on like in the game studio, so Simon can probably tell you more about like the life cycle and the development cycle of a game. But they're nearing like actually getting something ready for people to play and so on, which is cool.
Yeah, I guess Simon, like typically for the games that you guys are putting out, what is the life cycle for these Web3 games? Like I'm curious because obviously I'm kind of we're working on one, but you guys are working on multiple at a time. Like and maybe talk about how many people are in your studio working on it and then how much time before launch or something like that. Yeah.
We're like incredibly aggressive. So but we've been averaging about a game a year since we founded the company,
Cool.
which is not normal. Yeah, like one of the games, Battle Royale, which is probably one of our best financial performers within 6 months. So I think that's because, like, not to bore you with the details, but we have a big technological stack that we built in the first few years that we share between games. So we actually don't rebuild very much from game to game. We get to leverage a lot of the tech. But yeah, typically most studios would be 2 to 3 years, right? And then you can have a first playable, which is like a live beta, I suppose, or like maybe an early alpha that's public within the first 18 months. And then between beta and like full release can be anything from 6 months to 2 years, but generally about 6 months to a year. For us, we're 42 people today. It's been as high as like 55 in the past. We use contractors to scale up and down as we need to, but there's about 42 full-time employees and we're in 9 different countries. So we're pretty, like the core of the team is in Singapore, but we're pretty distributed, yeah. Talent doesn't really respect like national borders, so we work with anyone that wants to work with us who's really good at their job, so yeah.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, anyone who wants to work for Simon, hit him up. He doesn't care about what zip code.
Get in my DMs. Yeah, I don't care.
I'm sure he's always looking for good talent. Oh, okay. That's okay.
So,
Very cool. That is
I have a
super
question for Simon when we're talking about the studio. Is it usually that most of your team is working on one project, or are you like some are like doing live ops for like your live game, some are working on current projects, some are kind of trying to come up with new ones?
It varies. Like when we started on Mighty Action Heroes, I took everyone off everything else because I wanted the studio to really understand Web3. And so I killed everything that wasn't Web3 in the studio, which was at the
Yeah.
time incredibly controversial, but
Yeah.
absolutely essential because to onboard Web2 people to the space is really hard and you can't kind of half-ass it.
Mhm.
But now, like today, we have kind of three teams really. We have a platform team for something which is not live yet or announced. We have a Mighty Action Heroes team, and then we have the team building stuff in Fortnite and UEFN. That's really interesting because we can release a game a week in the Fortnite, which is what we've been doing. We've done, I think, 22 since November, and we learn a lot. Like all those learnings are going into Mighty Action Heroes and into the Web3 stuff, and we test all kinds of crazy stuff like concepts, gameplay, themes, art, and we found like this waifu theme that worked really well in Fortnite. We made a game called Waifu Tycoon where you had to befriend a waifu so she can fight Godzilla and overcome him before he destroys a music festival. And the waifus from that game are basically coming to our Web3 projects, and so the current season in Mighty Action Heroes is a waifu season because of the work we did in Fortnite. So it's been really interesting, like very rapid R&D pipeline. Yeah.
Really funny.
Yeah. Would you say is you work like Voodoo, for example? Do you know Voodoo, the hyper casual publisher?
Yeah, of course we know them. Yeah.
So
Know them well. Yeah, the Fortnite team is like Voodoo. You're right. Yeah, it's like hyper casual. So have an idea for a game on a Monday, and then we have ways of testing that idea with the public, which I won't go into because it's kind of proprietary. But by Friday, like that game is live. So there's a list of ideas on Monday morning, and by Friday there's actually a live game. Yeah. It's pretty
Wow.
crazy.
is it
There's
like
go
a one level thing you test with ads, something like that? Yeah. Or is it
on.
more
No,
is
it's
a
like
real
it could be anything, a PvP map, a tycoon map, like all kinds of stuff, anything that will work in Fortnite. And then if it works, we will just keep adding content to it and flesh it out. And the first week or two doesn't go well, it's fine. We just move on to the next one. But the team is doing about a map a week now. Yeah. It's fun. It's great for Web3 because the attention span of the average Fortnite player is equivalent to the average Web3 player as well. They don't read, like super degen, super in and out. So yeah, it works very well.
do you work on ways to create in-game virality? Because I think that's really the thing that some Web3 products really nail very well, is like how to create this hype organically and spread the products through the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, to be very truthful with you, that's something we've been very poor at, like in the last year and a half, and it's a big focus for us now. So we're testing out some of the systems with the Fortnite projects and a couple of other things. Yeah, I'm looking forward to showing people what we've been building around that because I agree with you, it's essential. And if you do it well in Web3, you can have a very good outcome. Yeah. It's very hard to scale games in Web3, so you need to leverage those systems.
Have you been experimenting with social? Because in some ways social apps are a bit like games. It's just with people. And
They're the same. Yeah, I agree.
So
I mean, your score on Twitter is your number of followers, right?
yeah, exactly. So have you been experimenting with new alternative social apps, maybe? Because Web3, I think it can be very also as a big of potential in social, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm on Farcaster and we tried out Friend Tech and a few other things. We're looking at what's going on in this space. Yeah, I think social is one of the big unlocks for Web3 for sure. And again, a bit like gaming, like no one has really figured it out yet. So it's a huge opportunity for the person that gets that right.
And have you looked at Telegram mini apps? I think it's also an untapped opportunity. Maybe it's already?
We have some in development already. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we have it up and running. Yeah. So this is something I'm very bullish on. Yeah. I mean, look, Telegram's got 900 Reddit users. Like, if you're not on Telegram, like, what are you doing? So yeah, like, I'm very bullish on that.
What do you think, Apex? Have you tried any games on Telegram?
Actually, not personally. No. I'm always like I'm following it here and there. What people are doing there, but I've never played games on Telegram. I've never used Telegram before crypto either. So I think the typical games on Telegram, they are probably too simple for me to really enjoy them. But yeah, it's definitely really interesting. Like these social native games. Also like Frames and Farkas, that was also something which I thought is really, really cool and could really have legs. If like Farkas gets a good audience, they just build games on Twitter basically. Yeah, it's super interesting.
Really interesting. I guess this is one of my like final questions, I think, unless people think of more, obviously we can keep going, but I was wondering for both of you, well, everybody here, I guess, do you guys feel, I guess, from the perspective of like making a game and seeing it launch, and also from the perspective of being a part of that launch or witnessing a lot of games launch, what are some signs of that you see, early signs where you're like, okay, this game, maybe from pretty early on, you feel like it's a really strong game, you feel like it's going to do well, it's like, yeah, are there any signs that you guys have found? This can be our final question.
I can go first. I'm usually a big fan of crypto native teams. So if you can see, the team or the founder understands crypto, he's involved in crypto, he's not just suddenly popping up, launching a token, raising money, but he's actually like, maybe has a NFT profile picture, maybe he's just engaged in the space. Those are often teams which are really successful because they just get crypto and they understand how it works and how you can actually use it to add value. So that's usually a sign I try to look at. Yeah.
I think as a founder, like you know when it's not going well. And it's not to say that games which have a difficult birth can't go on to be successful. Sometimes you can turn around, but even in the first like 6 months, 12 months, like sometimes you see the team is struggling, and we've killed many games actually pretty early in development that like no one had even heard about. Like the studio behind Clash of Clans, Supercell, I think they kill like 9 games for every one they actually properly release.
Wow.
So that's why all their games are really good. But yeah, like shipping games is really hard, and sometimes something that sounds great or looks great on paper, you play it and like, actually this is terrible. Or we don't have the right. Sometimes you don't have the right people, right? You're trying to build an MMO like we were, and half the team wasn't passionate about MMOs. Then it's not going to be a great game. So yeah, you just know like within. It's like making a movie, I guess. Within the first 6 to 12 months, you can see how it's shaping up, and you can see whether it's going to work out or not. Which is why kind of soft shilling a bit. Like I'm so excited about what's going to be announced soon. So yeah, give me a follow, and yeah, keep your eyes open for say sometime around the middle of this month. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so you can't announce it right now, right? Like it's still a secret.
Our marketing lead would probably stab me in the neck when I walk into the office tomorrow. She's got so much planned for this announcement. It would just go and just announce it here. So yeah, I won't.
Yeah, imagine. She's like, what did you do? Okay, well, that's all for today. I want to thank you guys for both coming on. I know we're all in different time zones, but we found a time to make it work. So thank you so much. And yeah, best of luck to you both. And I'm really excited to keep up to date with you guys on Twitter, X, and see what you're up to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us. It was really lovely to finally meet you, Apex, and nice to connect, Gavin, as well. Thank you for being such a lovely host.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Cheers.
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 Bye-bye.